Okay, so I was going through some government reports the other night, like actual government budget documents, because apparently that is what I do now. And I came across this number that just stopped me cold. $22 billion. That is what the United States government is spending on debt interest every single week. Not per year, not per month, per week. And the crazy part is, that money is not building roads, it is not paying teachers, it is not going to hospitals, it is just gone. Paying interest on debt that was borrowed before most working Americans even had their first job. And look, that is just one thing I want to show you today, because right now, in 2026, there are 5 massive cracks forming under the American financial system, all at the same time. And most people have genuinely no idea. Not because they are not smart, but because who reads government budget reports, right? I do, apparently. So, you are welcome. Stay with me for the next 9 minutes. What I am about to show you will genuinely change how you see every financial headline from this point forward. All right, so let us start with what the official story sounds like. Unemployment is around 4.4%. GDP is growing. The stock market recovered. You know, if you just skim the news, things look fine, manageable even. But here is the question that nobody, and I mean nobody in mainstream media, is actually asking. If the economy is doing so great, why are 57% of American adults living paycheck to paycheck? Why are more than half of Americans, 52%, worrying about money every single day? Why are 34% of people literally losing sleep over their finances? And these are not, like, statistics about people in poverty. These are ordinary Americans, people with jobs, people who did everything they were told to do. But here is the number that really got me. 40% of Americans earning over $100,000 a year are still living paycheck to paycheck. Like 6 figures, 100 grand a year, and still one missed paycheck away from a real problem. So the question is not whether people are struggling. They clearly are. The real question is why? And honestly, is it about to get worse? The answer to both of those is right there in the data, if you know where to look. So, the U.S. national debt just crossed $39 trillion. Now look, I know big numbers kind of wash over you after a while. Like a trillion, a billion, it all starts sounding the same, right? So let me actually make this feel real. The government is adding $7.2 billion to that debt every single day. That is not a rounding error. That is not a bad month. Every 24 hours, $7 billion more debt. And the interest on that debt just crossed $1 trillion per year for the first time in American history. To put that in context, the U.S. government is now spending more on debt interest than on the entire defense budget, more than Medicaid, more than education. Interest payments are now the second largest thing the government spends money on, behind only Social Security. But here is where it gets actually alarming. The Congressional Budget Office projects that by 2036, just 10 years from now, those interest payments will more than double, $2.1 trillion per year. And by 2048, interest on the national debt becomes the single largest expenditure of the entire U.S. government. Think about what that actually means. The government will be spending more money paying for the past than building the future. Education, infrastructure, innovation, all of it comes second to just servicing old debt. Okay, so there is a countdown clock on the website of the Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget. When I looked at it while making this video, it read, 6 years, 7 months. That is when the Social Security Trust Fund runs out of money. Now, and I want to be precise here because this matters, Social Security does not just disappear overnight. But here is what does happen under current law. When the trust fund is empty, it can only pay out what it collects in taxes, and what it collects will not be enough. The result is an automatic 24% cut in benefits for everyone receiving Social Security. And look, the Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget actually calculated what that looks like for real families. A retired couple with a modest income loses $11,200 per year. A middle-income retired couple loses $18,400 per year. And remember, for most American seniors, Social Security is not a nice little bonus on top of other income. It is more than half of everything they have to live on. I want to read you something. This is from a Bank of America economist, and honestly, it might be the most straight-up honest thing any major financial institution has said about what is happening right now. If your bills are going up by $300, but you are only making $100 more, how are you supposed to keep up with that? That is it. That is the whole problem in one sentence. Inflation has been growing faster than wages for lower and middle-income households every single month since January 2025. Your salary number goes up. You see it on your pay stub. It feels like progress. But in real terms, in actual buying power, millions of Americans are going backwards. And the wage gap is not closing. It is widening. Higher-income workers saw wage growth 5 percentage points faster than lower-income workers in the same generation, same age group, same country, completely different financial trajectory. So economists have a name for what is happening right now. They call it the K-shaped economy. Picture the letter K. The top arm goes up, the bottom arm goes down, two completely different directions from the same starting point. The top 20% of earners, people with significant stocks, real estate, assets, have seen their wealth grow a lot. The AI investment boom, rising markets, all of that has been very good to them. Meanwhile, the bottom 60%, people whose main asset is their paycheck, have been hit with rising costs, stagnating real wages, and growing financial stress all at once. And this is why economic statistics can feel so disconnected from real life. When they say average wealth is up, they are averaging in the billionaires. When they say unemployment is low, they are not telling you whether those jobs actually pay enough to live on. The average is technically accurate, but the average hides the fact that two completely different countries are living inside the same United States. There was a phrase in one financial report that I keep coming back to. It described the American consumer as bending, but not yet breaking. Credit card delinquencies are rising, savings rates are falling, and consumer confidence just hit its lowest level in more than a decade. And here is the number that really alarmed economists when it dropped. The University of Michigan Consumer Sentiment Index hit 47.6. For context, the last time concern about both inflation and the job market rose at the same time like this was the 1970s, over 50 years ago. This is not just a rough patch. This is a historically rare combination of pressures, all landing at the same time. Okay, I want to finish with something important. I am not here to scare you. I am genuinely not. I am not telling you to panic, or sell everything, or stockpile canned food in your basement. Please do not do that. What I am saying is this. Understanding these numbers, really understanding them, is the most important financial skill you can have right now. Because you cannot make good decisions about your own money if you do not understand the environment your money is living inside. The people who came out of 2008 financially stronger were not just lucky. They were informed before things changed. The 5 things I showed you today are not my opinions. They are not predictions. They are documented facts from the Congressional Budget Office, the Federal Reserve, the Bank of America Institute, and the University of Michigan. These are the numbers. What you do with that understanding, that is up to you. If this gave you clarity you did not have 9 minutes ago, that is exactly why I make these videos. Subscribe if you want to keep getting this kind of breakdown, not just the headlines, but the actual numbers underneath them. I will see you in the next one.